Something big is happening. In the last 24 hours, some major things have transpired. From Department of Defense or Department of War calling for emergency meeting. Something that we don't see a lot. He said it's so rare that it's only happened a few times in history. What could be going on? Also with the indictment of Comey, that's just the start. Trump may have leaked 2 other names that could be coming up next, because for some reason he started talking about Comey today and how terrible of a person he was and how terrible he was for the FBI, and all of a sudden, bam. So he could be prefacing and foreshadowing 2 more big players. We'll discuss that. Also, Elon's back. Wait till you hear the story. He's back in the White House. But in what capacity? Let's dive into these stories and a lot more. There is a lot that's transpired from military action. Did you know about this? There's military action in the Pacific, and it will involve us. Last story that we're going to be discussing. Yesterday, we had 24 hours without 911 capacities, or for majority of the day. We were not the only state. We had a major blackout in Louisiana, of course, Mississippi. New York City had a major blackout. Are we looking at a regional cyber attack? I think, as I was telling a friend of mine, one day we're going to wake up and the world's going to look a lot different. Let's dive into these stories today. This video starts right now. Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Thank you so very much for being here today. Some crazy stories, and we're going to jump right into. Remember, check out the Life of Kobe Mac, the vlog channel. I posted there yesterday. A lot of times people don't know kind of how we do this and how we raise all this food, how we're preppers and sustainable livers and you know, independent, and our children homestead. Go over and watch that channel for us. Now let's jump into the stories of the day, because that's why you're here. Let's talk about Pete Hegseth first, and this has been a lot of speculation around this meeting. But let's read the headlines. And you know, by the time this video comes out, I'm filming earlier, so it may have already broke. But I want you to just listen to some of these things. Now, before we go into the Pete Hegseth thing, I want to bring this up. South Korea fires warning shots at North Korea in a border violation. Also, Poland tells a lot of the Polish people and a lot of NATO allies to get out of Belarus right now. That's 2 major things that are happening with 2 major powers. North Korea, South Korea situation involves China. There was a situation yesterday that we read that the supply chains may be held up in China, and it may be used as leverage dealing with the trade wars and dealing with this North Korea, South Korea thing. So a lot of stories right there. A lot of issues that does involve our troops. So that brings me to the point where it may have nothing to do with this. It may have to do with something totally different. But let's go what Pete Hegseth just brought up, because I think we need to hone in on it. It says, Hegseth orders rare urgent meeting of hundreds of generals and admirals. Hegseth orders a meeting that is typically something that's never done. It has been done only a few times in history. It says, the Pentagon has summoned military officials from around the world. He's pulling people from all over the world in a gathering in Virginia. Even the top generals and their staffs have no idea what this meeting's about. Now, this came out yesterday, the 25th, around midday. And it was really hush-hush at first. But this could be, you know, a cheerleading session, and we're just glad, hey, we're glad that you're on board, and we want, you know, activations better. We want to bring more people into the military. Could be. But you don't bring every general, every admiral, and every big player from across the world, and no one knows what the meeting's about, hush hush, and you decide to have this meeting in Virginia with these people. It says this has not happened with the Department of War or Department of Defense, but only just a handful of times, where all the generals and all the admirals and all the biggest players in the military come under one umbrella to meet with the Department of Defense. This is a big deal. Let's pay attention to this story. I think there's going to be a lot coming out of this story that we're not privy to knowing the information. Now, you know, like today and yesterday, have you heard the fact that, you know, Comey, of course, was indicted, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a second. But did you hear that FBI had 275 plainclothes people in the J6 debacle? Did you hear that Swalwell came out, Eric Swalwell, one of the congressmen, said, if we see anyone targeting Comey and some of these other activist judges and some of these liberals, that we're going to target them. You hear that rhetoric? You hear how we're starting to get more divisive in everything that we do. You see the players like North Korea, South Korea. You see the players like Russia, Ukraine. You see the major players, even infiltrations into our freedom rallies. It's a big deal. So when he brings these people in, because there's so many things happening, we really don't know what they're going to be discussing. And to be honest with you, we may never know. But here's what I always say, and this is a prime example. I was talking to a dear friend of mine yesterday, and with the blackouts which we're going to discuss, with everything that transpires in a quick 24-hour period, from Bitcoin falling, from gold rising, from the stock markets plummeting, from the crazy interest rate runs, to the situation like Charlie Kirk, something can spark just off in just a semblance of a second, and it could change your whole worldview for the day and change your whole mindset. I told you I've been watching this survival show, and the survival show is based on something quick happening, something taking over the world, and all of a sudden people are having to live on what they had or basically steal for it because they were not prepared. We were sitting in my prepper's pantry, so our goal is to be as prepared as possible. But this is just part of it. Really, we have to ground ourselves in knowledge and wisdom and common sense, because we're going to be facing things that we couldn't even imagine. And when you have the Department of Defense bringing in every member of leadership across the world in for a private closed-door meeting, that is a big deal. And going along with this whole story, the indictment of Comey, it came out that Kash Patel said, for the longest they've put us in chains, they've put us in, in arrest and indicted us too. So now the shoe's on the other foot, and we're actually going for true law-breaking things. Now the thing that scares me a little bit about this, I love the fact that he's getting indicted. A lot more should be. I hope it's just one of many that's fit to be indicted. However, he is going before a Biden-appointed judge. That is who is going to seal his fate. So the question is, does the swamp protect the swamp, or does justices actually have an unbiases? Well, we've seen with activist judges, we have not seen unbiases. We've seen a biases. So the question is he going to get a true fair trial to where we really see what this guy's done? And then after we see that he was a crook or criminal, are we actually going to see this judge lay down the law? I'm a little worried about this. Now, Trump came out today, big dropping news. Now, he talked about, Comey yesterday, but he also came out today and stated this. I want you to listen. It says, no one is above the law. President Trump confirms that George Soros and Reid Hoffman are under investigation for financing radical left-wing terror groups like Antifa. Trump says numerous wealthy elites are aligned with the left-wing causes to openly hurt America. And this is where I think when he came in last week and declared Antifa as a terrorist group, I think this is why. Because then it allows them to have open dialogue about who is funding all these bad players. It said that several AG's offices across America, federal AG offices, were opening investigations into George Soros. This could be one of the absolute biggest game changers when it comes to activist judges, activist AGs, activists, and liberal riots and protests going on in the cities. They hate our country so much that they're willing to burn it down. Don't believe George Soros won't do this. George Soros did this against his own people. Remember, George Soros is a Jew, and he actually came across a lot of Jews during the time with the Germans and actually helped the Germans. Then he actually hurt his own people. Hungary banned him from coming back into Hungary. Did you know this? He is the one that absolutely set up the fact of destroying the Bank of England and pretty much the UK whole system for a long time, because what he did, he bet against them. His goal is to destroy nations, and he's done a very good job at it and has become filthy rich. The sad thing is, you don't know this, but a lot of the NGOs and a lot of the things that our Congress funds filters right back to him, which ultimately filters right back into the pockets of these protesters and rioters. Here's the kicker. Trump brings up people like Reid Hoffman. He brings up people like George Soros. But the sad thing is it's going to be tied to a whole lot of congressmen and senators. What's going to take place? Now, let's talk about what Eric Swalwell just said. But before we do, a word from today's sponsor. If you wonder why scammers are always getting your phone number, why you have so much spam in your inbox, well, this is why. Your data has been compromised, meaning there's data brokers out there, and what they're doing is getting your information and turn around and selling it to maybe some salespeople, but maybe some bad players. The crazy thing is they do it without your consent. They give all your information to all these places, and it makes you vulnerable. And you know what? You actually can call hundreds of companies, thousands of companies, and tell them you don't want your information shared on the World Wide Web. But guess what? It's kind of hard and time consuming. That's why today's sponsor, Aura, is the game changer for you and your safety with your data online. Everything that we do is online now, so the last thing I want to do is try to go and find out who's got my information that shouldn't have it. That's why we recommend Aura. Aura does all the hard part. Aura goes in and they start taking your information automatically off and taking it away from some of the more compromised places, the vulnerable places. I kid you not. My inbox, my phone has been completely cleaned up, and I don't have to worry about all these crazy calls and all these insurance salesmen and all these apps tracking me all the time, because Aura is there to help. Aura also is so much more. Aura is all-in-one digital security. They do 5 things extremely well. They send you alerts if all of a sudden they find your personal information on the dark web, real-time fraud alerts for credit and banking apps, and also if your information has been compromised. 24/7 monitoring. This is the biggest, because I promise you, the people that are probably stealing your information, they're probably not doing it during the day era. What if it's through the night? 24/7 monitoring from Aura. A secure VPN, antivirus and password manager, and so much more. A US-based support available around the clock. So if something goes wrong, you can reach out to them and they're right there to help you. Aura includes $5 million in identity theft insurance. At night when I lock my doors before we go to bed, I don't want to lock just the front and leave the back open. Aura is all in one, so that way it's protecting you all online. If I sleep at night and I physically protect my home, what about making sure that I'm digitally protecting my information? Check with Aura today, aura.com/themacs. Get 14 days free by using that link. You want a peace of mind when you sleep? Aura can give you that. Aura.com/themacs. Check them out. You're going to need that Aura in just a second. Wait till you hear the story about the blackouts. But before we do, let's go to what Eric Swalwell said, because this is huge. Eric Swalwell came out and stated this. He said, I'm threatening the lawyers right now. If they try to prosecute Democrats or rhinos, listen, that shows establishment now, then the Democratic Party will try to cancel their licensures and they cannot practice law again. We're going to go after them. See, this is how this works. They try to use lawfare when honestly things are going in the right way. You see the rhinos and Democrats work together, the establishment base, to ultimately try to destroy what Trump and freedom is doing. It's exposing the darkness. When light shines, the darkness is exposed, and man, do they hate that. So this is not over, but at the same time, please understand that it's fixing to get even more intense. Prime example, intensive. You know, they took off Alex Jones and Fuentes. Both of those were put back on YouTube's platform. I mean, Google just made an announcement yesterday of kind of apologizing and opening their platform back up. All of a sudden, Fuentes and Jones are canceled back again. So it shows that the more the truth comes out, even if you don't like the truth, the more that they're going to try to not let you hear the truth. So now let's talk about this blackout situation. Now, I got this emergency alert. I'm going to show you a picture of it. I think I saved the picture. Yeah, here we go. So this came across my phone. It said, I don't see if you can read it. Public safety alert. This came on my phone all throughout the day yesterday. And it says this, it's 911 system outage. If you are experiencing this emergency, please contact local law enforcement agencies and first responders directly. Crews are actively working on this issue. They say it's a technical issue. Now, here's the problem I have with this quote-unquote technical issue. I want you to listen to this. This came from Ton Stearns. It says, major power outages in the Grand Central Terminal in New York City. You know, we talked about this cyber attack yesterday, dealing with the fact that they were trying to hit around the UN. But all of a sudden, the commuters had to be evacuated out of elevators and other places in the terminal because it went into pure, utter blackout. Blackout in New York City, just in the Grand Central Terminal. Think if that was all of New York City. people would have gone loco and absolutely crazy. It says elsewhere, 911 services were cut for hours. Mississippi, Louisiana, of course. The outage was blamed on just severed cables and on Wednesday a technical issue that caused major Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport to have major delays. He says, I don't believe in coincidences. The power grid is one of the softest targets in our country. No need to be frightened, just pay attention. But to be honest with you, it's all about being prepared. If you woke up tomorrow and your cell phone didn't work, alerts were going off stating that communications are down. All you have is a notification stating that things are fixing to get tough. What if all of a sudden you woke up and all of a sudden you tried to flip on the lights and the lights went on? You're like, oh, I'm going to call the utilities company, and you pick up your phone and your phone's not working. But is the power working? How serious would that be for you? What if all of a sudden you went to the bank and the bank says, hey, look, we're closed. We're on a bank holiday. The government just called all dollars. They're worried of it crashing. The stock market's crashing right now. You see how serious something can get very, very quickly. The situation yesterday when they busted all those SIM cards, it said that was enough to cripple telecommunications. These blackouts to 911, think about that now. In my area, we're just a small town, and it's not a big deal, but I was walking in Walmart, and all of a sudden you hear the emergency alert going off, and everybody's looking at their phone, wondering if it's an Amber Alert, wondering what's going on, Silver Alert, and all of a sudden it says 911's down. How serious is that if all of a sudden you're needing help and you may not know a local sheriff or a local police or a local fireman that you could just call? We are that close from life-changing. That close from it going downhill. The reason we prep, the reason we act like crazies that people think we are, and we wear our tinfoil hats, is because that right there. Now, more than all this, we're grounded in our faith. Spiritually grounded in our faith. But like my sponsor I was just telling you about with Aura, we have to protect ourselves because there is so much evil in the world. The more light is exposing, and I've said this for the last 4 days because I want to make sure that we bring this home. I think this is what Charlie Kirk tried to do. He tried to reason with the other side, and the other side killed him. I love what Trump said. Oh, it's so powerful. He said, Charlie took the bullet for us, but that guy was aiming, and the left was aiming at all of us. That is so true. The more that we expose the wickedness and the darkness in the establishment, with the Democrats, with the leftists, with these Antifa groups, with George Soros, whatever we are exposing, the more dangerous it will become for us. Please understand that. From China holding back ships, withholding leverage dealing with North Korea, South Korea, with the fact that nuclear war could break out. The fact now that we see that Russia is making bigger escalation and inroads into Ukraine. There's a lot going on. Pay attention. We don't need to forget about this military thing too, with all these generals meeting in this rare emergency meeting. Big deal. Big deal. Now, I'm going to end with this. There was a story that came out that Elon is back. We saw this, and Charlie Kirk made this comment, months before he passed, that he knew that for the greater good, Elon and Trump would come back around. Well, let's read this story that just came back, and this was, I thought, a good sign of all the things that went on in the last 24 hours. I actually thought this was probably one of the most positive things, is that we saw the world's richest man and probably the world's most powerful man, Trump, actually kind of get back together, and seems like they're trying to work out their differences, but also for the greater good. Even if they may not agree with each other on everything, they're willing for the greater good to stand up and be together. It says that huge news today, as Trump administration announces they are partnering with Elon Musk XAI to help streamline federal workforce. Agencies will now have access to Grok 4 and Grok 4 Fast until 2027 as part of the new agreement. Elon's comments are blockbuster. Listen to this. It says XAI is the most powerful AI compute that's most capable AI in the world. Now, I'm not for AI. I've told you that before, but we're to a point where we have now built this sleeping giant. We've woke up, and now this sleeping giant is right in front of us, and this is AI, the dangers of it. But it can be used for good if it's in the right hands of people who are humble and have humility. Now, I don't know who that is, because with great power comes great responsibility. But I do like the fact that they're coming back together. Elon says, thanks to President Trump and his administration, XAI's frontier AI is now unlocked to every federal agency, empowering the U.S. government to innovate faster, accomplish its mission more effectively for an economic price, for a lot less. We look forward to continuing to work with President Trump and his team to rapidly deploy AI throughout the government for the benefit of the country. Now again, you know my thoughts on AI. But to see these two men come together, I actually think them working together for the greater good will benefit us more in the long run. It doesn't matter if you love or hate either one of these guys. These guys together are going to be a juggernaut that can withhold and withstand the people like the George Soros and the people like the Reid Hoffmans. And especially now that they've been trial by fire, now that they've went through the hard stuff, like really hard stuff, and some very strong tweets and social media presences, even the fact of starting a new party, all that. This could actually make them stronger. So I really want to see a force to be reckoned with right now. We're seeing the arrest take place. Now let's see the conviction take place. We're seeing the raids happen like on Bolton. Now let's see the convictions happen. We're hearing things like Soros and Hoffman. Now let's see the convictions happening. I'm hoping this starts a great golden age. But to be honest with you, this last 24 hours, there's a lot of things to be weary of. But let's end on the high note. Being prepared and spiritually grounded helps me not worry about a lot of this. There's times that, it does kind of weigh on me, because I read the news all the time to try to make sure that we're getting all the information we can. But then when I think, I get to see my kids, they're healthy. I get to go back to my wife, she's healthy. God's blessed our family. I'm thankful every day for Him and His presence. I'm glad I'm spiritually grounded. I'm listening to messages and comfort through Scripture each and every day. So even though the world has went nuts in the last 24 hours, a lot more bad, some good things too. If we stay without going through the valleys and hills, if we just stay in a complete knowing of hope and faith, we're going to be okay. This is all great. You need to be prepping, physically, mentally, and emotionally prepping. But more than that, spiritually prep. Find faith in something. Not finding faith in just anything, but in the one true God and through His Son Jesus. More than ever, we're seeing biblical things play out. Microsoft pulled their licensure for Israel. More countries are pulling away from Israel. That's biblical. You're seeing wars and rumors of wars. That's biblical. You're seeing evil run amok, even in America. Light shines, darkness is seen, is exposed. It's evil, but it's biblical. Pay attention to these stories. Focus on them. Understand. Let's have a common sense approach. Be vigilant. And here's the thing. Don't fear it. Don't be scared of it. Don't let it worry you. But have an understanding that if I learn these things, then it helps me better prepare. That's the key. Good news with Elon. Very good news with him and Trump. Very good news that we're going after some of these bad players. But the more we put pressure and push that pressure point, the harder I think we're going to see it get. Pay attention. Because remember, just like that, our lives can change. Massive blackouts, massive communication breaches, major cyber attacks, wars, anything and everything can happen. Remember the warning yesterday with Al-Qaeda. Do not take for granted each day that you're able to get up, wake up, and live for God. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on today's video. God bless.